Raj, I'm going to check with Anthony to see if we're powered up.
Copy.
Okay. We're powered up. We'll get started at 2 o'clock.
Copy that.
Hello, I'm Steve.
Steve, I'll go ahead and at 2 o'clock, I'll start with the commercial.
You
and
got
then I'll turn it over to you.
How you doing, man? You just like rocking and a rolling on this.
Make sure you knock everybody off except me and Cleta and you.
Copy, stand by.
One minute. We got to get you a flag shirt, Raj. No sound. Raj, no sound. Can you hear me? We don't have sound by you. You're not.
Great. Can you hear me now, Steve?
Yep. Now I can.
Great.
Okay, play the commercial. We're ready to start.
Stand by. Steve, why don't you go ahead and get started, and I'll play the commercial right after you make your first announcement.
Okay, I want to thank everybody, wish everybody a happy holiday. Want to thank Raj for all the help he's given me over the years. We've worked very closely together. Want to thank Cloud Hub, Patriot TV, Lindell TV, The War Room, Melissa Red Pill, Brighteon TV, Dan Smilgio, Your News, Total News, and of course, Dan Schultz. If it wasn't for Dan Schultz, I wouldn't be here. We'd like everybody to get his book. If you can show that, Raj, you want to put me on the screen?
You are on full screen. Yes, we can see that.
Okay, so go to www.precinctstrategy.com, because if it's not for Dan Schultz, I'm not here. So let's make sure we go there, get his book for Christmas, give it out. We need more people to get involved. Want to thank my staff, Samantha, Melissa, Anthony, and my friend Stephen Rosenbaum for all the help. So we're ready to rock and roll. As soon as you play the commercial, we'll have Cleta come on.
Hello, I'm Steve Stern, CEO of Flagshirt.com, a third-generation veteran-owned small business. I believe that the American way of life is for all of us. I'm asking you today to visit Flagshirt.com. Help keep the American dream alive. Be a flag waver. Carry a nation's heritage. Use coupon code ACTION10 for 10% off site-wide and buy a flag shirt today. Action, action, action.
All right, so we're going to start off with Cleta Mitchell, the top person in election security. She's my close friend. I can't say enough about her. She has done so much for election integrity. I think she works 18 hours a day. I'm not sure if she sleeps. So Cleta, come on down. Give us what you tell us.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. I feel the same way about you and Raj, and thank you for all that you guys do. Thanks to everybody who's interested in saving our elections. Look, it's for the last 4 years, this is all I've done is work on election integrity. I was one of President Trump's lawyers in the post-election of 2020 in Georgia and saw all I needed to see there. But boy, I tell you what, we've built this network nationwide of state coalitions, and I was just on the Michigan call, their weekly call just a few minutes ago. The things that people are doing, I was on Georgia yesterday, the things that people are doing are just phenomenal. But from all of that, from all the things we've learned, it became pretty clear to me that we need to move into the next phase. And the next phase is for us as citizens to declare our commitment to certain principles to make our elections operate the way they're supposed to do. They're supposed to. And that means Congress needs to change some laws and every state needs to improve on its election laws. So what I've been receiving input from people all over the country who've been working in the election integrity space and taking all of those suggestions, recommendations, needs for changes. We put this together into what actually the Tennessee Coalition is the one who came up with the name, the U.S. Citizens Elections Bill of Rights. Because when election laws in one state are bad, like in California, we all sit and watch them count ballots for a month after the election. We need to stop all of that. But so what we've come up with is the Elections Bill of Rights. I'm just going to run through it quickly. We're going to roll it out. We're building up a website so that you can have a link to it, and we'll send that out when we get it all done. But number one, the most important thing is that only U.S. citizens should be able to participate in our elections and in our body politic. And that runs the gamut from voting and registration all the way to no foreign money in issue campaigns, to making sure that there's no foreign ownership of any voting system, making sure that the census has the citizenship question, that House seats are apportioned based on citizen population, not on total inhabitants. But citizens are the only ones who should be participating in our elections and our body politic. Number two, that voter ID for all voting, and that includes voting by mail. And any any ID that's acceptable for voting has to be one that proves that you're a citizen. Right now, that is not the case. You want to know where some of these crazy ideas came from for a utility bill or a bank statement to be a voter ID? That's in the federal statute. So we need to get rid of some bad federal laws. Number three, everybody votes on election day in person, except for those people who are allowed to vote by mail because they fit into certain categories. We need to get rid of this election season, get back to election day and having most everybody voting in person. If we go back to precinct voting, we can do that. And it'll take an army of American volunteers and patriots to work those polling places to have that many locations. But I'm a firm believer that we can do that. Number four, we need to confirm citizenship of everybody who is currently registered and all new registrants. And we need to have rigorous cleanup of voter rolls. We all know that even in Florida, there are problems with the voter rolls. There are problems with voter rolls in every state. And that's largely due to federal law and the state laws that have been enacted to follow up on that. And so we need to have vigorous list maintenance and clean voter rolls. And everybody on the voter rolls needs to be confirmed as being a citizen. Number five, we need to replace all the insecure, vulnerable voting systems. Congress, after the 2000 presidential election, appropriated billions of dollars and required the states to get rid of punch card systems and the old lever machines. It's time for Congress to do the same thing and get rid of any of these vulnerable election systems. We need to vote on, people need to be able to vote on hand-marked paper ballots printed on security paper. And the tabulation needs to be done immediately. And we need to have the election results by that night. And that can be done. It can be done. But we have to insist that all the states and Congress make sure the laws reflect that. Number six, we need to make sure that every jurisdiction is confirming the accuracy of the election results before certification. And there are ways, some states have good laws on that, but they're not following those laws. So we need to make sure that there's reconciliation and confirmation, and that every state is required to do independent post-election audits, but not by the election office auditing themselves, but by independent auditors, just like in any other business. We need to ensure the transparency of the election records and the election process. We know that now the election records are supposed to be kept for 22 months. That's a federal law. However, there's no enforcement. And the only person who can bring an action to enforce that is the Attorney General of the United States. And Merrick Garland has shown no interest in enforcing that statute. And everything about the election process needs to be transparent and open to the public and to observers, meaningful observation. Number eight, We need to protect our military deployed voters and separate the process for voting by overseas citizens who are civilians from the military voters. We all think of the overseas ballots as being military, but that's not true anymore. And in fact, I would be willing to bet that when the data is done for 2024, that upwards of 70%, more than 70% of the overseas vote will be from civilians. They don't have to provide any proof of citizenship. They don't even have to prove that they live overseas. We need to fix that while protecting our military voters. And number 9, we need to eliminate these cockamamie left-wing billionaire schemes like ranked choice voting and the national popular vote. These are things that literally left-wing billionaires are trying to cram down our throats through initiative ballot issues. They're spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, much of it from foreign donors. And we need to make sure that that states are not buying into these ridiculous systems. And we need to protect our Constitution and the Electoral College. And finally, citizens need to have standing to sue those election laws. Right now, if you're a left-wing group, you always have standing. If you're a group of citizens or a citizen trying to enforce the election laws, half the time, most of the time, the judges say you don't have standing. So that needs to be turned on that's backwards. So we need to flip that because that's the state of the law today. So that's a very quick rundown. We're going to be having training on each of these. We're going to produce some training videos on each of the principles. There's a lot to do. Congress has a responsibility to fix the bad election statutes that are in federal law, and every state needs to take a look at these principles and make sure that their state election codes reflect these principles, because these are our citizens' elections Bill of Rights. It's to protect U.S. citizens, protect our elections, and ensure that the election laws make certain that we are proving citizenship, that we remove the whole election system from left-wing manipulation, which is what the left has spent an estimated between 11 and 14 billion dollars since about 2012, wrecking our election system. It's time for us to reclaim it and get it back. So with that, Steve, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for everything you do. You are
Thank you.
phenomenal. Okay, next we're going to have Ed Solomon on. He should be there.
Go ahead, you're up.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm just going to start my presentation with the most damning stuff we can possibly have here. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you guys can see what's on my screen.
Yeah, I can see your spreadsheet.
Okay, we're going to start with this right here. And this is the results in Nevada. Okay, and before I show you the full picture of these results, we're going to zoom in on this graphic I made of a football stadium. So what you're seeing here in red are all the Republicans who voted no against ranked choice voting. Okay, so that's this section right here. And green is all the Republicans that voted for ranked choice voting. There are no Democrats in the stadium. And this is only in the early vote. So I say, okay, 80%, which is a 4-to-1 ratio of Republicans voted against ranked choice voting in Nevada, in both Clark and Washoe counties. What happens in the election day vote? This is not the mail-in vote. The mail-in vote is worse. What happens in the election day vote? Well, Republicans and Republicans only, it was a 50-50 split, a 1-to-1 ratio. Can you imagine filling a stadium with hundreds of thousands of Republicans one day and filling a stadium with hundreds of thousands of Republicans the next day, and you go from a 4-to-1 ratio to a 1-to-1 ratio for and against ranked choice voting? Okay, so here we have it here. If I zoom out now, this is Washoe County. So identify a Republican in the cast vote record as somebody who voted for Trump and a Democrat as somebody who voted for Kamala. Okay, in Clark County, it's 72%. And it drops down to 50% in the election day vote. In Washoe, it's 80%, and it drops down to 56% in the election day vote. Democrats go from 46 down to 26 in Clark, and they go from about 40 to 26 again in Washoe. Why would the way in which a Democrat or Republican casts their ballot so drastically affect how they voted on the ranked choice ballot initiative? Okay, now I'm going to go to the next picture. This is how they voted on abortion. Let me see if I can get that here. Should say detail. Oh, a little earlier. Here we go. I'm going to zoom out. So the way the election goes, and according to the cast vote record, is it starts with the mail-in vote, which I label as mail-in vote 1. This is the order in which the ballots are counted. Then it goes to the early vote. Then it goes to the second mail-in vote. Then it goes to the election day vote. Then it goes to the third mail-in vote. Same thing for for Washoe County. Okay. This is how they voted on abortion. And we're going to look strictly at the early vote first, which is here. 70% of Republicans voted no on the abortion amendment. That drops to 50%, just like in the previous example. So we just went from at least more than 2 to 1 against abortion to, again, a 50-50 split on Republicans on election day on abortion. In the mail, because there's 3 mail-in votes, it starts at 70% and finds its way all the way down to 48%. Okay. Same thing in Washoe, 70 to 50, 70 to 52. I personally don't believe that Democrats voted 5% no against this. So that's a different argument altogether, but we'll address that another day. So now you look at the county timeline for all the combined votes, you get 60 up to 70, down to election day 50, and then down lower for mail-in 3 for both counties. You get the exact same pattern. My favorite one to show people is Arapahoe County, Colorado in the year of 2020. Okay. Like this one just cracks me up. So we're going to pull that up. Clark versus Arapahoe. And what you're seeing here is you're looking at how Democrats and Republicans voted on Proposition B in Arapahoe County, Colorado in the year of 2020, which was to triple everybody's property taxes. Okay. Literally. And it says that Democrats and Republicans voted the exact same way at all moments in time for the last 10,000 ballots cast in Arapahoe County. It's 350 to 380,000 ballots. No matter where you go, maybe you get a little discrepancy once in a while. Democrats and Republicans voted in perfect parallel throughout this entire election. The same thing happens in ranked choice voting in 2024 in Clark County, Nevada. Republicans and Democrats are moving in perfect parallel for the entire vote. What does this normally look like? Okay, in a fair election, well, I don't have to show you. I can show you how people voted on other ballot propositions in Nevada. Okay, so we're going to go to fair versus unfair. Normally, you just get random noise. So this is on ranked choice voting in the early vote of Washoe County. You don't see perfect parallel movement. This is on state question 5, which was to make diapers tax exempt for young people, for babies and old people. You don't see parallel motion, but you do in Arapahoe, and you do in Clark County's mail-in vote on ranked choice voting. Why is this all important? Okay, because this goes to show that, one, they can rig the election day vote. In fact, they can rig the early vote too. That happens in other places. So when people say, oh, if we all vote on election day, or we all vote early, or we all vote by mail, it doesn't matter how you vote. Everything goes to the central counting terminal. All goes to the same computers. Traditional ballot stuffing, by the way, can't produce perfect parallel motion and cast vote records. Only an algorithm can do that. Only an algorithm can do that. They can rig it all. Voter ID, what does voter ID matter when algorithms can flip votes? That's why they let voter ID pass in the state of Nevada on the ballot proposition with 74% of the vote, because it doesn't affect them. Voter ID won't save us. Voting on election day won't save us. The only thing that's going to save us is the guarantee clause, Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. The federal government shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. If you don't have free and fair elections, you don't have a Republican form of government. The elections are unverifiable. Nobody can ever match the paper, assuming the paper even exists, against the machine count. They're unobservable. No human being can process ones and zeros in the central counting room. You can put all the observers you want in the central counting room. Unless you're Neo from the Matrix, you can't see the ones and zeros going through the electric currents of those circuit boards. They're unobservable. They're unverifiable. Therefore, they're unconstitutional. That's all I have to say today.
Hey, thank you very much. So before we get our next guest, I want to ask everybody for a Christmas gift. I'd like you all to go to Stern American on X and please join me so we can get this spread all over the country. And Raj, would you put that March the 3rd item up again?
Yes, I sure can. Stand by.
A couple of minutes, so let's talk about that before Joe comes on.
Stand by. So this again is March 3rd. We're asking you to save the date for March 3rd. Why are we asking you to save the date on March 3rd? That is because we're having the second annual Republican invitation on March 3rd. It is going to be an amazing event with golf, election security conversations, and excellent food. And to trump all of that, it's at Trump's International Golf Club, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. Steve, back to you.
Yep. So this is going to be March the 3rd. What we're going to have for 4 hours, we're going to have all the top election security people on there live. Whoever can come on live to the Trump International course. We're going to have 88 golfers playing. And while they're playing, we'll be broadcasting all over the world. And we expect 20 million people on this. We're building this up. That's why we started now. If you could get that a little bit bigger so they can see what that is. We have invited President Trump, and actually he's going to be in the White House, so I'm not sure if he'll be there, but he has been invited along with Laura Trump, Eric Trump, Trump Jr., and many celebrities in this. Last year we had celebrities there, baseball players. We had a lot of people playing. Last year we did 50 people for precinct strategy. This time we're going to do 20 to 30 people for election security. If you want information on that, go to sstern1054gmail.com. That's sstern1054gmail.com. Raj, when is our next one? January 10th? Is that what it is?
I think it's January 10th. I'll double check that and let you know in just a second. We've got a zoomed in shot here now of the flyer. If you could please take your phone out and take a picture of this. Please invite everyone you know. You can also scan the QR code. I'm going to zoom in further on that. You've got Steve Stern's telephone number there. This event packs out. There's so many people in, I think it's Broward County, that just show up. So if you're not there and you want to get a seat, act on it earlier. And I'll confirm that date in just a second. Steve, back to you.
Okay, so we're pleased to have Joe Oltmann on. He has really helped us out here getting this on Lindell TV today. And come on down, Joe. Get him unmuted.
Joe, you're up. Go ahead.
How are you doing?
Good. We can hear you. Please go ahead, Joe.
So I'm not actually. I guess I'm not prepared to. You want an update from me, or you want me to just tell you
what's give us an update on election security, what you're doing on your program. Anybody who wants to get on your program, how do they do it? Give a little background on some of your great guests that you've had and what you think is happening on your election security as you're getting a lot of guests on talking about it.
Yeah, so we I date back to the 2020 election. Obviously, the Eric Coomer debacle. I've taken a very good reputation, as many people in this fight have, and turned it into soup salad. So that's been really fun over the last 4 years. But I don't regret it. But I will tell you this: that as we go into President Trump taking the White House on January 20th, we really have to look at working the problem. And there seems to be this kind of tapering off of that we can out cheat the cheat, and that's an acceptable way to go through elections going into the future. So I'm going to just tell you what I think about that. We have 90 days. We have 90 days in order to have, by executive emergency order, voting machines and mail-in ballots removed from our election system. So over the last 5 weeks, I've been working on a white paper that is the architecture. I'm a system architect. I have 2 tech companies. I was a tech guy long before we got involved in this election stuff. But we need to go to paper ballots in person. Obviously, all the things that we've talked about on election day. I'm all for actually a 2-week period, which is early voting. And you would say, Joe, no, it needs to be 1 day. Well, the lives of Americans are very complicated. And so you have to relent to certain things. And 2 weeks where it's in person, they have to have an ID, or we make exceptions, ADA exceptions and other exceptions to people that maybe have a disability or not able to be there. They have the ability to vote by mail, but that's a very small percentage of our vote. And then the 2 weeks prior to that, those 2 weeks of early voting would be relegated to our armed forces, for our military, overseas personnel, where they have the ability to vote first. They're the ones that put up the most to lose every day. They fight for America, and they should be the first ones to vote. Now, with that said, if we go to decentralized counting, which is one of the big issues that we've just seen, is that there's no transparency there, and we count at a precinct level, that will allow for us to hand back control of the elections and the transparency that's required in elections for Americans. And it'll force those people that are going to cheat back to an archaic form of cheating. Now, cheating is always going to occur in elections. It's just bad people are going to do bad things, but this severely limits or hinders their ability to manipulate elections. By this decentralization, which is the way it's always meant to be for 250 years, we will return the ability for Americans not to vote for career politicians. So we're, as you look at this process and making Election Day a federal holiday, we give it to dead presidents. Why can't we give it to Americans to have the most important thing that we have be voiced, have a holiday for that? We shut down our economy for 6 months. So there's definitely a precedent for us having the ability to shut down operations in the country for 1 day. So as we start looking at how to fix this, and you would say, well, Joe, I've had multiple guests on the show. We had Harry Hari on today, as well as Sean Smith, who is amazing. And we've had other system architects and people come in that have talked about what the election system is. We recognize that if we don't actually do this, if we don't actually rip the Band-Aid off and stop trying to work within the confines of the system that's currently there, then we just have a 2-year reprieve. It's a speed bump in the road to tyranny, as Sean Smith said. And so we have to literally disrupt the entire thing. And this is the problem. This is not the symptom. This is the problem. The symptoms are everything else that we deal with: child trafficking, the open borders, legislative action that goes against the will of the people, higher taxes, bloated government. We could talk about all of that. I don't even care about any of that, because most people in this country feel like they're invisible anyway. And so giving them the ability to stand in solidarity with other Americans that just want us to have real conversations and real representation will be the thing that prevails. So as we talk through this process, if it's not done in 90 days, I'm just going to tell you right now, that's what we have to push towards. We have to push towards a radical change that goes back in time, that gets rid of the black box, that gets rid of the election machine companies, which are all owned by private equity firms and hidden ownership. It gets rid of the ability for them to have multi-state manipulation, because elections are supposed to be done at a individual state level, and even on the state level, they're supposed to be done at a community level. It'll eliminate the ability for people like the Secretary of State to control outputs and outcomes of elections. It'll stop the chaos that exists in our election systems, regardless of where they are in the country. And it'll get us to a place where even if the public had the desire to do a recount, they could do so without having any issues. So those are the things that I push for. The white paper will be out here soon. An ex-deputy Secretary of State asked me to write this paper, actually asked me to write a brief, and the brief turned into a 25-page paper that I've been getting input from experts across the country, but looking at how do we secure this and get rid of the Runbecks of the world and even the mail ballot printer companies, which frankly are a part of this entire charade. So that's it. So I have a show, by the way, on Conservative Daily. I have that show 5 days a week. We're one of the top, 0.5% of podcasts globally. We reach about 15 million people a month, and frankly, both the left and the rhinos on the right hate me. So I must be doing something right. I can't figure out what I'm doing right. But all of this, by the way, to be said, another thing that I think we should push towards is making sure that the churches stop using the 501c3 as a blanket for why they won't talk about ethics at the pulpit. And I believe that truth is a commodity that is rarely traded ethically. And that's one of my biggest issues, is that we We don't want to talk about what's really happening because we're afraid of the truth. So we sniff around the butt, just hoping that we don't get to have to deal with the problem. And this is how we deal with the problem.
So in the couple of minutes we got, tell people how they can see your show. Also tell them how they can see other shows that you schedule for. I think you're in charge of Lindell TV's schedule. A lot of people don't know how to get on. They also don't know how to get, if they have somebody good they want to get on the show, where do they go to?
So you go to frankspeech.com. We're on Roku, Google Play, Play Store. You can see us on any of the major apps. We're also on BEK network. So we're on networks on the cable network across the Midwest, I believe. We have Rudy Giuliani that's on there as well. Mike Lindell has a Lindell Report. Bannon is on there a couple hours a day. We also have some other shows that we're actually pushing out that are more lifestyle driven. So we have 3 specific channels. We're bringing on more people over the next several months as different content curators. And, it's just a great network. We're a publicly traded company now. So FSBN, you can go to fsbn.com and get information on the network itself. We're doing great things. And frankly, we want to be able to evolve to a place where we're not always just talking about politics, but right now that's what we're doing. So we want to get into the community and try to heal some of the communities that, are being stabbed in the back by people that they say that they're there to protect them, like the Democrat controlled cities, and really getting them awake as well. So that's, the network is going to be driven towards the target of the people and truth. And frankly, if you give us enough time over the next couple of years, we will surpass any of the other channels that are out there. And I do believe, I can't swear to this as far as it being fact, but I think I can pretty much say that it's fact, and that is that we will be getting a seat at the table at the press briefings for the White House. So look forward to doing that as well and reporting back. I can't see any of the questions, but I saw some come across.
Chat. Joe?
Yeah.
Put that information in the chat.
Okay. I'll have them put that in there right now.
Much. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and thank you so much for coming on.
All right. God bless you.
Got it. Okay.
Excellent. So we're going to bring the great Joe Hoft on here. Just a quick word to those of you that are watching us on the live streams. Thank you to all of the streaming partners that have been streaming this. We have a number of people here on the Zoom. And if you want to be on the Zoom call for these events, text the word elections. You can see it on the screen behind me. Text the word elections to 91776. We're not going to ask you for money. We're not going to send you any spam, but you will get updates on when these calls are held, and you'll get a link to the Zoom call as well, so that if you want to participate in the conversation, I'm looking at the chat here, there's a bunch of questions, bunch of information being dropped on. So if you're watching us on any of the streaming partners and you would like to actually be on the Zoom part of it, text your elections to 91776. We're going to bring Joe Hoft on, and just before he comes on, I just want to acknowledge Joe. As you know, I'm with Defend Florida, and Joe has been an amazing asset and resource for us. He literally is worked with so many grassroots leaders and has helped amplify their findings on the large stage that he has on his blog. So Joe, I just want to call that out and just say thank you, man, for doing all of that. And the floor is yours. Over to you, Joe.
Thanks so much, Raj and Steve, for having me. That's great. Thanks, Joe, for the share. Before this, by the way, one other show on Frank Speech Lindell TV is the Joe Hoft Show too. So it's maybe the best show out there. So be sure to watch that weekdays from 1 to 2 Eastern. So today and Steve invited me here a few weeks ago to speak, but we put up a big post on Sunday that was huge. It absolutely went viral. And I thought I'd share that today. I mean, I'll share it here on the big screen, but maybe just to give you some information about it. We kind of walked away from this election, at least it looks like the GOP has, and everything's fine. Everything's fine with the elections. I saw Frank Luntz came out with a poll the other day where he apparently said, yeah, most Republicans now think elections are fine. And I don't think there's anybody on this call that would suggest that these elections are fine. I don't think anybody in their right mind could. Certainly no former corporate auditor and executive and finance guy like myself would ever sign off on these numbers. And even in this election as well, I think there's maybe some hesitation to bring up some of the fraud because Trump won and nobody wants to jeopardize his win. but there was massive fraud across the country. I think, especially in the lower races. You talk to people in even Florida that have pointed out things to me about that election. For example, the mail-in votes. How is it that every day that we receive mail-in votes, which we vote like for 3 weeks before Election Day in Florida, every day the mail-in votes come in, and it's just coincidental that the Democrats always have just a little more votes than the Republicans do every day. It's like a stream. The numbers just kind of flow up and down with the Democrats, always more. Things like that are out there. We know it, and it needs to be fixed. And I think President Trump crushed it, and it was he that did that. It wasn't any efforts really by people, any one individual in particular. I've seen some people try to suggest that they were the ones that won the race, perhaps in Pennsylvania or whatnot. I think it was ultimately President Trump was an incredible candidate, and it was a miracle too that we all saw that day on July 13th, where he turned his head at the right moment, and the country was saved. I mentioned this in my show earlier. It was the difference between World War III and Let's Go to Mars, and that's what we saw that day. Elon Musk jumped on board the next day, and it's been absolutely exciting ever since. And we all though sat back and wondered, when's the water main break going to occur in this election? It took me weeks before I could really kind of sit back and realize, my God, we had a miracle, and we're moving forward. So it's great to be here with you. Here's a piece though that we put up on Sunday. I'm gonna see if I can share it here with you. Let's see if that works, guys. I'll hit share right now. How's that? Can you able to see that?
Not yet. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, so here we go. This piece we put up Sunday, it just absolutely went viral. What you may know, many of you probably do know, is that in the House race, President Trump crushed it across the board on Election Day, but then all of a sudden on these House seats started to dwindle, as well as these Senate seats. I think David Clements has said he thought maybe 8 Senate seats have been basically taken away from us. I think the House seats is also a big deal. In California, especially in Orange County, there are 6 House seats, U.S. House seats, and of those 6 seats, 5 went to the Democrats. Now, if you talk to anybody out there, anybody that knows anything, anybody that knows the history with that location, probably some here on this call, Orange County is a very conservative county. It's very, very red. To see 5 out of 6 seats go to the Dems certainly makes you scratch your head at the least. So we started looking into some of the numbers and some of the other events that happened right after the election. I put this piece out, telling people go and help them in Orange County. They needed help with curing. President Trump re-truthed this story that we put up as well, not just at joehoft.com, but at Gateway Pundit. And that was on Friday. That evening, there was a bomb threat in Orange County at the election center. So what people don't realize is that wasn't the only bomb threat. There was more than 50 counties across the country that had bomb threats in the 2024 election, 7 in California alone. The night that the bomb threat occurred, what happened was the sheriff's department shows up and they shut down operations, and at the same time shut down the live stream that's covering where the accounting was taking place. That was the thing that really grabbed me. I talked to a Leo individual who's been a sheriff for years, said the last thing you do is shut down the live stream. You'd want to make sure that you could keep your eye on anything. Might save somebody's life if they walk into an object that looks peculiar from the live stream. So anyways, a lot of oddities regarding that. And at that time, there was 3 races that were real close, but the Republicans were winning them all. What happened over the next few weeks was that we saw these change, and all 3 of those seats were turned blue after about 3-4 weeks, because, as you know, they have this monster vote that continues for a long period of time. The other thing I should mention too is just some open barriers to the elections in California. One is their voter rolls are totally bloated. We had an estimate that over 3 million individuals on those voter rolls are illegals, because they just pushed all the registrations from their DMV into their voter rolls. This happens across the country, but anyways, now there's estimates, and I've put together a piece that shows that. So voter rolls are messed up. They have these long periods of time to count votes. And of course, they have mail-in and absentee ballots as well as the machines. So kind of a mess, kind of a nightmare. At the end, the results of the state were or of the county were 76% voter turnout. That's unusual because other states it's around 55%. If you're familiar with the voter turnout. Anyways, the other peculiarity is that President Trump lost to Kamala, which people say is a joke, as well as Steve Garvey had more votes than Adam Schiff, but he also had more votes than President Trump. So something was up. We started looking at the numbers. We saw that there was various things. I'm going to highlight a couple of the big ticket items that we noticed. And by the way, those 3 seats that were lost in the House, it was 27,000 votes total. That was the difference between 3 Republican seats and 3 Democrat seats. And by the way, if those 5 seats in Orange County, I think were legitimately red, if they were counted as red, that would be 225 seats for President Trump to 210 for the Dems. Now it's 220 to 215. So this is a significant issue, and I think everybody recognized that when we put this piece out. Anyways, I'll try to slam through this real quick, Steve. What we found was that there were 325,000 more votes that were sent out than that were recorded rather than registered voters. Somehow they did that. They replied to us and said, well, that's due to the fact that those people that vote in person, we give them a ballot as well. Plus, we send everybody a ballot. The control issues with that are unbelievable. The other thing that we noticed was that in the results, we noticed that 309,000 ballots were more ballots that were counted than were returned. So when we've had some going back and forth with the Orange County individual who was running the operations there. And I'll tell you what, last night we found out that the GOP in Orange County sent out an email to their various clients saying, hey, everything was fine with the elections in Orange County. Basically, here's the points that were made and here's why everything's fine. It's outrageous that the GOP is standing up for the results in Orange County. These are significant areas that need to be looked into, and overall, the entire process is broken in California. So for anybody in the GOP side to stand up for that, it's pretty alarming. I guess that's about the end of my time, Steve, but there'll be more coming out at joehoft.com and Gateway Pundit in the days ahead. This is a big deal. I think that seats were stolen in Orange County, and there's so many ways that could have been done. Voter rolls just one. But anyways, I'll pass with that, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Very much. Happy holidays. And now we're going to have on Mark Shaftlein, one of the great guys, owner of Patriot TV, a real patriot. He does everything, shows. He's back and forth from Florida to California, and I think he's right in orange, so he's going to work on trying to change that election. Go ahead, Mark.
And again, a lot of the guys who have participated and women on this telecast today have been guests on Patriot TV, including Joe, who was on my show up until election. We did a show for 4 weeks prior to the election called Election Edge, and we touched on a lot of the issues that have been talked about today. And I think Joe really brings up a good point when he talks about some of the complacency, and this has been referenced by both Joel and Joe, about Republicans are feeling great right now with Donald Trump in the White House. We've got a 53-47 Senate. We have as Joe said, 220-215 House. But I think when you really dive into some of the numbers and some of the what I'll call lost opportunities, the numbers could have been much bigger. Now, we're broadcasting from here in Orange County, and as Steve mentioned, we had dinner down in Florida. I had an opportunity to go back and forth, meeting with General Flynn and Michelle and Raj and Ali, when we were down in Venice. And one thing I do want to talk about for opportunities is take a look at the state of Florida. Back in 2000, it was the laughing stock. Again, we helped elect George Bush because, frankly, there were a lot of people in Palm Beach County who were Democrats that voted for Pat Buchanan. Obviously, the hanging Chad piece is part of American folklore and election history. But when you fast forward to the last 2 elections in the state of Florida, 11, 12 million votes, they're all counted within 3 hours. We have You have to have voter ID in Florida. You have to sign your ballots. Signatures are matched. You can do early voting in Florida. And it seems to work quite well. So I would advocate that the state of Florida's model, which has been praised nationwide, is something that the United States Congress and Senate should consider as a model for election reform as we head into 2026. Because if you think back about this and look at some of the results in Florida, when Ron DeSantis was reelected governor, the Republicans took Dade County. The Republicans also took Palm Beach County. That had not happened before. And where Steve's broadcasting for in Fort Lauderdale, we didn't necessarily win Fort Lauderdale because it's very heavily Democrat, but we made strides and it became more red than it had been before. Fast forward to this past election. You had polls coming out showing Rick Scott only winning by 2 or 3 points. Rick Scott, he traditionally has close elections, quarter point, half point. He won by 12. So I want to celebrate our successes. Same thing could be said for Ted Cruz in Texas. Some of the national polling had Colin Allred up a point less than a week after the election. Cruz won by double digits. Okay, so there were a lot of things that went right for Republicans in this election, but let's talk about some of the things that could have been. And I want to piggyback on what Joe was talking about for a minute. I'm talking about Orange County. Michelle Steele, who is a sitting Republican congresswoman, she lost 50.1 to 49.9. And as Joe Hoft mentioned, she was ahead most of this race. But here in California, it's all mail-in ballots, and they just kept trickling and trickling and trickling. And finally, once Tran got to a lead, the race was called and she conceded. It was even worse up in Northern California. We had a race District 13. The final vote was like right around 100 votes or so. Both candidates won about 50%. And to put that in perspective, we now have 3 members of Congress, all from safe districts, albeit, who are going to be part of President Trump's cabinet. That's going to take our House lead down to 217, 215. That means we can't lose 1 vote, okay? Because there's going to be special elections to fill these seats. So if we could have had even 2 more seats in there, and I know Joe mentioned possibly 5, but even if it was only 2, now you're talking 222, 213. I mean, you're talking a much bigger swing than this 5-vote majority that we have right now. And let's take a look at some of the Senate races. I know Joel referred to this, as did Joe, but we had Donald Trump winning the national popular vote by 1.5%. I know it was tighter, it was wider than that before California, Arizona votes started being counted, and some on the West Coast, more mail-in ballot type states. I think on election night, he was up close to 3%. But yeah, Trump ended up winning right now 1.5%. 48.8, 47.3. Clearly a winner, clearly a significant win. And he won the 7 swing states. Now, let's look at what could have been. In the state of Wisconsin, we had a great candidate. He ends up losing 49.4, 48.5, 9/10, less than a point, Eric Hovde. And Trump won the state. So were Trump's coattails not big enough? I don't know. That's a tough one to swallow. Michigan. We had a great candidate for United States Senate. Lost by 0.3 of a point. Nevada. We had a decorated veteran. He was ahead throughout much of the process. Ended up losing by 1.7%. In Arizona, Kari Lake, Floyd Brown, who's closely associated with Patriot TV, was her campaign chairman. That race was, at the end of the day, she was down 2.4%. So you had 4 races there, extremely tight. And then I've had people say, well, Mark, what about the other end of it? Dave McCormick, he barely won in Pennsylvania. Yes, he did, but let's talk about Pennsylvania. Look what happened in those counties surrounding Philadelphia when county commissioners were trying to go around the rules that the state Supreme Court had approved. And you had that infamous lady who said, oh, I don't care what the law is, we're going to do it this way. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But at the end of the day, it took the Pennsylvania Supreme Court with more Democrats than Republicans on it to intervene to validate the election. Mark Elias, the famous Democratic attorney, was challenging that election. And, Chuck Schumer, he didn't want to have Dave McCormick come in for orientation. So that gives you a sense of what we're up against. Now, let me put this in perspective on how Republicans, Democrats see some of the suggestions that have been talked about so far. 97% of Republicans favor voter ID. Believe it or not, 53% of Democrats do. And 84%, this I think is the most significant piece, 84% of independents favor voter ID. So having a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and Donald Trump in the White House, I agree with what Joel said. Your first 60, 90 days, here's your opportunity to move in election integrity. Possibly, maybe we can't get everything we want, but if we could get a national voter ID piece in place, I think that would help with the integrity of our elections. In Europe, 33 of 37 countries have voter ID like that. Now, again, going back to what I said, here in California, no ID at all. So vast majority of voters approve that. And then one other piece that's been talked about, early voting. Again, in the state of Florida, the safeguards are in place. My belief is that early voting is fine as long as you have the voter ID and some of the other suggestions that came right when we started the program, because Florida's been a model on how it can work. 12 million votes, all counted within 3 hours of when the polls closed. I mean, you can't get much stronger than that. Now, as far as early voting goes, 60% of Republicans approve that, 95% of Democrats. So, with only a slim lead in the United States House of Representatives, there may be some compromise needed with Democrats to get this through, but we all know Democrats don't want any form of voter ID. So we have an opportunity for us, as Joel said, and as Joe said, and if we can move forward on some of these initiatives, then, I think that will be good. Also, think about the results of this past election, okay? 3.5 million fewer voters, according to the official results, voted in 2024 versus 2020. Does that sound realistic? I mean, that hasn't happened since 1972. And then you look at the candidates, and again, yes, Donald Trump won. Kamala Harris got 6 million fewer votes than Joe Biden. Now, you can say what you want about Kamala Harris, but she spent $1.5 billion versus running a basement campaign and still got 6 million votes less. Does that say that the 2024 election, as Donald Trump has said, was too big to rig? That, we had thousands and tens of thousands of poll watchers and attorneys, and Michael Whatley and Laura Trump at the RNC did a phenomenal job. Was that accounted for, or was it the fact that maybe something happened in 2020 that accounted for that 6 million vote differential?
Minutes.
So again, a lot to unpack there, but these are some of the things that we've had to deal with. Now, again, Steve, I want to thank you for having us on here at Patriot TV. We've got a tremendous show host lineup, people from Shannon Joy, Will Johnson, Jason Burmis. I mentioned Ali Leggy and Michelle earlier, Kay Daly, Joe Pags. I mean, we're patriot.tv where you can find us. We've got tremendous show hosts, and just like other members of the conservative media, I think one thing that our site can really do a good job now that Donald Trump is in the White House and we have that House and Senate. Republicans have a tendency to fight among each other. Democrats, they are lockstep and barrel. It doesn't matter if they're voting or if it's a specific issue. Our side seems to be more fractured. One thing I would like to see as we move forward with this advantage now is the conservative media that we're all part of here, this new media, not the legacy media, can come together with the support of the people in the White House.
Thank you very much. Conrad, you're up. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you very much. And hello, everybody. And it's a pleasure and honor to be able to speak with all of you. I was asked to give a quick update on what we're doing here in Arkansas, particularly as it pertains to election integrity here. we've had an uphill battle. And for most of you who know, we are a solid red state. We have the supermajorities in the House, the Senate, we have the governor position, and all the cabinet members. But we have had a tremendous roadblock from the Republicans in our state trying to keep us from going to paper ballots and having secure elections. They want to keep the machines. For those of you who don't know, we use ES&S touchscreens for everybody in the state. We're one of a handful of states that actually use the touchscreen for people. We don't have paper ballots, with the exception of a couple of counties. And we have the tabulators, the ES&S tabulators. And most counties have no hand count. So that's what we have. We do have voter ID, which is a good thing. We don't have mass mail-out ballots, which is a good thing. But we have voting machines. We also have open primaries, and we have tried our best to get closed primaries, and we're being fought tooth and nail by the Republican establishment. They do not want closed primaries. They want to keep them open. That has been a real problem. But I'm the CEO of an organization called the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative, avii.org, and we are transitioning to the America Voter Integrity Initiative. We're a 501c4, and our goal is to make sure that Arkansas is an example, like all the other states are trying, to be an example that every state can follow to be able to do exactly what we need to do, which makes paper ballots, the hand-marked paper ballots that are hand-counted, to be the official number. We don't mind using tabulators in between after the, like say, election day night, using a tabulator, as long as you have a chain of custody and you hand count them to make sure that the machine was acting properly. We think that is the best the best example. Now, in our state, we try to do a statewide initiative to get it into our Constitution that you couldn't use machines, that it would be a hand-marked paper ballot. I was fought tooth and nail by our Attorney General, who's Republican, and the other powers at B. They do not want this, and they dragged their feet. They made sure we could not get it to where we could do a statewide initiative. But we did find out that we could do it county by county. Now, we have 75 counties in the state of Arkansas. Last year, we had one county called Searcy County that did paper ballots. This year, what we did was get enough signatures to get it on the ballot so that people could actually vote to whether they wanted paper ballots or not. We got 9 counties. We worked on 9 counties, got enough signatures in 9 counties to get it on the ballot on November 5th to be voted on by the people of that county, other independent counties. And what we found out was 7 of the counties, found a way through the judges to keep us off of the ballot. So we only got 2 that were available. Only one actually put it on the ballot, which was Independence County, Arkansas, Batesville, Arkansas. And it passed overwhelmingly. Almost 62% of the people wanted paper ballots and said, we don't want machines. That is a big thing. And the reason that's big is because I believe, unless someone here can correct me, that's the only county in America that had the opportunity to vote, let the people vote on whether they wanted paper ballots or machines. And it overwhelmingly went for hand-marked paper ballots. And that's not something that surprised us, because a year ago, we had Rasmussen do a poll in our entire state, and that was the number they came up with. Over 60% of the people in Arkansas, independents, Democrats, Republicans, all want hand-marked paper ballots. They don't trust the machines. But and we knew that. So we knew that's what it was going to be. But even though the numbers are on our side, the people are on our side, we have 99.9% of our elected representatives all disagree with us. And they've been fighting us. They want machines. And they've passed laws to make it more difficult for counties. They decide to go to paper ballots, to punish them financially if they do that. This is a problem that we have. Again, we're a solid red state, and we have this issue here. We cannot get people to stand up who are in elected office to represent the people that put them in office. They're representing somebody else, and it's not the people. But what else? Searcy County, I wanted to say a little bit about Searcy County. That was the other county that went to paper ballots. They voted by their quorum court. And for those of you who don't understand that, basically it's the administrative body for the county. For example, they have a county judge. He's not a law judge. He's the senior executive of that county. And then you have districts in that county that have a leader, and that's called a JP, a Justice of the Peace. So they have, each county in Arkansas has between 9 and 15 Justices of the Peace. And by our law, if the majority of them decide to vote to go to paper ballots, then you're a paper ballot county. So we started in 2022, 2023, getting counties on board to do this. And we had several counties ready to go. One county did do it, Cleburne County. But guess what? We have an organization here called the Association of Arkansas Counties. They are kind of a shadow government. I'm sure many of your states, I know that y'all have it in Florida, but you have many states that have this organization. And they fought tooth and nail behind the scenes to coordinate with all the county clerks to make sure that this was not going to pass anywhere else other than Cleburne County. And what they did was they pressured the county judges, and they said, basically, we're not going to help you with your road grants, federal road grants. We're not going to help you with your any other grant you want for your county if you pass paper ballots. Now, why would they have an interest in doing that? You know, the whole point is somebody is pushing that organization to fight all of us who want transparent elections. And I'm working hard as best as I can to make sure that Arkansas will completely go to paper ballots. But we believe at our end, the best way to do it is probably at the national level instead of county by county, because what happens is you get a lot of people who get scared. They don't know what to do as far as these JPs and the county judges. So we felt like we need President Trump to have a commission or to have an organization to be able to push the example of paper ballots. And we wanted to be the example here in Arkansas, the best practices of those counties in the country that are using paper ballots, hand marked and hand counted. And we need to push that nationwide. And our belief is this is a national security issue. This is a national security issue. And since election equipment is critical infrastructure, the president has the bully pulpit. He has the ability to say, you know, as a national security effort, we don't need computers telling us who won. And we need to be able to have access to the code. And one way we could leverage that is to simply say that these machines have to have the ability to meet DoD standards, Department of Defense standards, in order to be used by any or accepted by any state. And we know that's not possible. They're never going to do that. They're never going to let everybody have access to the code that they use in order to count. They're never going to give us access to the barcode, how to interpret the barcodes or the QR codes. So we believe that that is going to be probably the model to be able to change every county in the state, in the country, to go to paper ballots. That's what we want. That's what we're pushing for. And I think that we've done a really good job so far, but really and truly, this has to be an effort led by the president at the national level in order to be able to make sweeping change in the next 6 to 12 months. That's all we have, folks, because a lot of these primaries start early in 2026. So we have most of 2025, and that's about it to make a substantial change. Anybody wants to ask me a question, I'm open for it.
Thank you very much. Have a happy holiday. And Dr. Robert Epstein, you're up.
And right before Dr. Epstein comes on, a couple of you have been asking, how do you get the access to the recording of these calls? How do you get access to the recording of these calls? The way you do that is you go to sternamerican.com, sternamerican.com, look for the Rumble link, and that is how you get access to the recording of the calls. You can see this very subtle link message behind me. If you're interested in participating in the Zoom part of it, where you can participate in the chat, simply text the word elections to 91776, and you will get a link to the Zoom invite so you can watch it on the Zoom invite. Thank you for that, and we'll hand it over to Dr. Epstein. Dr. Epstein, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. And Steve, nice to see you again. I just texted really two links. One is to americasdigitalshield.com, and the other is a link to a summary of findings that my team was able to preserve for entire year leading up to the presidential election. Looking for the first time at all 50 states at the content that big tech companies were sending to registered voters. We were monitoring big tech content through the computers with their permission. A politically balanced group of more than 16,000 registered voters in all 50 states. We know from past elections that big tech companies have shifted millions of votes in one direction, that is to Democrats, and I lean that way myself. Even though I do lean that way, I object to that. Yes, did you have a comment?
There's no comments.
Okay, great. So the point is that we, in 2024, we greatly expanded our monitoring capabilities. We let the tech companies know that we were doing this. We let members of Congress know. I talked about it on Joe Rogan's show, on RFK Jr.'s show, and many, many other shows. We wanted these companies to be aware that this time we were collecting data on a massive scale so that it would be court admissible. Court admissible. This has never happened before. In other words, we set up the world's first nationwide system for monitoring the content that big tech companies were sending to voters, where they have the power to shift millions of votes. If you go to that little link that I sent, and I'll just send that little link again, you can read an excerpt from a 200-page monograph that I just submitted for publication. And you can actually read an excerpt from it. It's just 10 pages. It's got some very simple graphs in it. And you will see that we made a difference. We made a huge difference. This time around, we helped to level the playing field nationwide and to prevent big tech companies from shifting millions of votes. How do we know that? Well, if you look at that excerpt from my monograph, and I'll keep sending that link over and over again. If you look at the excerpt from my monograph, you will see how we did it, and you will see that that liberal bias in Google search dropped by more than 20% over that period of a year, and that liberal bias in YouTube dropped by more than 50% over that period of time when we were monitoring big tech content. Most important of all, you will see in this excerpt a very, very important graph along with an explanation for what the graph means, showing that in the critical days before the election, when Google was starting to send out partisan go vote reminders nationwide, that means telling Democrats to go vote, but telling far fewer Republicans. They were sending 50% more go vote reminders to Democrats than to Republicans. Our intervention, our posting this information starting on October 31st, got them to stop. We got them to stop sending out partisan go vote reminders nationwide. So if you look at, it's the graph that's farther down, if you look at the big colorful graph that's farther down, you will see that we got Google to stop doing this. Now their homepage where they give these vote reminders is seen 500 million times a day in the United States. It makes a huge difference in the vote. And we know in past elections that Google has used this technique, these partisan vote reminders on their homepage to shift millions of votes. We got them to stop on, yep, there it is, a little bit more, there you go. We got them to stop on November 1st. So November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they stopped their partisan go vote reminders on their homepage. So what we've done here is the first time it's ever been done in the world. We set up a nationwide system for monitoring big tech interference in our elections, and we got them to greatly reduce the extent to which they were interfering, and we got them to stop sending out partisan go vote reminders 4 days before the election. That's a very, very critical and very powerful type of manipulation, which is normally invisible to people. So keep in mind that without monitoring systems, one has no idea about the biased content, about the manipulations that the tech companies are sending to voters. You can't see them at all unless a monitoring system is in place. You would have no idea that they're sending 50% more go vote reminders to Democrats than to Republicans. So monitoring is extremely important. Our system is still running. You can view it running at americasdigitalshield.com. If you want to sponsor one of the patriotic Americans who are allowing us to monitor big tech through their computers, there's a link there at americasdigitalshield.com where you can click if you want to sponsor one of our field agents. We have more than 16,000 people right now doing this in all 50 states. We have court admissible data now in 21 states. Our goal is to continue to expand the system until we have court admissible data in all 50 states. That will put maximum pressure on these tech companies to stop interfering in our elections, and for that matter, to stop indoctrinating our children. That's what I have to say.
All right. Well, happy holidays to you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks down in San Diego or Carlsbad or wherever we're going to see you. So
Can't wait to see you. Take care.
Okay, we got a special treat today. We have somebody from the state of Washington, Tamborine Borrelli. We try to get people on from every state in the union. We're looking for people in North and South Carolina and also the Dakotas. When is our next one, Raj? Was January 10th? Was that it? Wednesday? Can't hear you, Raj. You're off.
January 7th. January 7th, which is a Wednesday, is our next call.
All right,
January 7th.
go ahead.
Tamborine, you're up. Go ahead, and if you can start your camera, Tamborine, and go ahead.
Yep, I'm just pulling up a video. One moment.
Okay, great. While we're doing that, let me make a correction. Okay, here is a correct date for the next election security call. It is on Wednesday, January 28th, 2025. Again, Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. There's our next election security call. Back to you, Tamborine.
Sorry, just having a little technical difficulty getting the video up. One moment, please.
Copy that. So while we're waiting for that,
You want to get it done, and we'll bring on Greg Stenstrom and then come back on after him. Is that all right, Tamborine?
Sure, yes, of course. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
copy that. Stand by. Greg, go ahead and unmute.
Mute. 1 second, I'm just starting the video.
Great,
Can you hear
and
me,
your
Raj?
video started. Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. I sent a video to you. Are you able to play that?
I am. Stand by.
Let's just play that first, and then we'll jump back on.
So Greg's videos are just like massively fabulous. So I'm going to play the video here. Stand by. Your sound. Okay. And video playing.
The 2020 election saw record registration and voter turnout for the Democrats. But come 2024, something about the final vote tally wasn't adding up.
What do you think about that thing I sent you today that compares the number of people that voted in 2020 versus the number of people that voted in 2024? Like, look at the difference in how many people voted for Biden in 2020. It's unprecedented.
That doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris received 81 million votes in 2020. And then somehow she received 15 million fewer. What happened to those 15 million?
That's screen went Raj. Gotta go back to the screen.
Stand by.
Stop. Raj,
Stand by.
stop. Yeah. After Tucker.
I'm
Just
going to just
restart it
start
after
it.
Tucker.
Yeah. It's a short video, Greg. I'm just going to start it again.
Yeah. It's only a minute.
The 2020 election saw record registration and voter turnout for the Democrats. But come 2024, something about the final vote tally wasn't adding up.
What do you think about that thing I sent you today that compares the number of people that voted in 2020 versus the number of people that voted in 2024. Like, look at the difference in how many people voted for Biden in 2020. It's unprecedented.
That doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris received 81 million votes in 2020. And then somehow she received 15 million fewer. What happened to those 15 million?
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is? Fugazi. It's a fake. Yeah, fugazi, fugazi. It's a wazi. It's a woozy. It's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not real.
The uncomfortable truth facing the American public is nothing has changed since the 2020 election. In 2024, the people showed up. The Democrats did not have the political will to steal the election from President Trump this time, or they would have had a mutiny on their hands. Instead, they are stealing down ballot races in the House and the Senate to block President Trump's America First agenda and to create a false narrative that he does not have a mandate from the American people.
The truth matters. The system was exposed, but the war is far from over. We call on patriots in all the states where they are still counting illegal ballots and manufacturing votes weeks after the election. You have the power. Stand up to your local election officials and stop the steal once again.
Fight, fight, fight.
Brought to you by ParallelElection.com.
Back to you, Greg.
Thanks. Hopefully that video came out pretty well. Can't tell. I had to jump in the car today and head out on an emergency, so doing it from the car. But the reason I played that video and the video was created is we have hard physical evidence that the election machines, all of the election machines in Pennsylvania have been compromised. Not a single machine in the state of Pennsylvania, and this is true throughout the country, has been properly certified in accordance with EAC and FEC standards. I want to repeat that. Not a single machine in Pennsylvania has been properly certified. All of the machines in Delaware County have fraudulent code and malicious code embedded in them. This is a matter of fact. This has been recorded in 2 separate hearings. It has not been refuted by any official in our state, including the head of the Secretary of the Commonwealth Director of Elections, Jonathan Marks. It is a fact that the machines are compromised, the mail-in ballot process is compromised, and our entire election is compromised. It's a fugazi. The cognitive dissonance that most people in this country are suffering from, and people on this call are still suffering from, is the elections counted at all. The electronic ballots are fraudulent. We have proven this over and over again since 2020. And now I'm going to tell you what we're doing about it. Since 2020, and we have proved massive election fraud in 2020, we have proved massive election fraud in 2022, and we have again proved massive election fraud in 2024, again and again and again. We have gone to the U.S. Supreme Court. We have a case outstanding there that demands that the DOJ investigate, and we've given them the hard physical evidence that not only that there's massive election fraud, but that these investigations have been willfully and criminally obstructed by Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, Inspector General Michael Horowitz, former Attorney General Rosen, former Attorney General William Barr. These are hard physical evidence that these people, justice, that they have committed treason against the United States. They committed treason against, I would say treason, but that they personally went after President Trump. This case is before the Supreme Court as 24-430. Leah Hoops and myself on Monday were in the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania with an audience of over 100 good patriots, many on this call who showed up. What we expect from that is a trial that will expose the 2020 massive election fraud. We have cases that have been obstructed at the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania and common pleas courts in Delaware County and other counties in the state of Pennsylvania. These cases have been thwarted at the clerk level and several judges to stop these cases from being heard before they unlawfully certify the election again. Now, a lot of people think this might hurt President Trump. It will not. President Trump won in a landslide. In a landslide. What they're doing with these unlawful certifications is they're stealing the House. They've gone after the Senate. They're going to continue to do it again. They're stealing judge seats to shape the courts. We have hard physical evidence of all of this. So what we've done most recently, in addition to continue to pressure the courts, is we have filed criminal disclosures with the Department of Justice, with the Pennsylvania Attorney General, with Special Counsel Jack Smith, and with the Office of Professional Responsibility in the Public Integrity Sector. These allegations and these criminal referrals will be adjudicated by the incoming U.S. Attorney General, which we hope, I believe, will be Pam Bondi. But these investigations and these criminal allegations and these cases will be brought forward and people will be held accountable. Until we arrest these recalcitrant public officials who have stolen our elections, then I think a lot of this is a Fugazi itself. There are no safe machines. I'm a computer scientist, as most people here know. There is no system that is too big to rig when it comes to computers. The EAC has completely and utterly failed in securing our machines and our election infrastructure. CISA has utterly failed in the protection of our critical national infrastructure in the elections. So what we're doing, and we need your support and continued help with, is exposing this. Go to parallelelection.com, the video I just showed, and there's several other videos there. One's called The Big Con. Share these with your friends. Share them with your legislatures. Share them with anyone who will watch them. Parallelelection.com. There's multiple videos there. And you can go to www.patriot.online. And you can read the public feed. All of our cases are posted. The videos are posted. We're pressing forward in the courts, and we're pressing forward with President Trump, and we're pressing forward with investigations to end this charade once and for all. Until we secure and punish and hold these public officials who have stolen our elections, until we hold them accountable, I think we're just running in place and continuing to do the same thing over and over again. Ask for a recount, don't get it. Ask for an investigation of the machines, don't get it. Ask to do canvassing, don't get it. We ask where tens of thousands of mail-in ballots have been produced, don't get it. We've tried to make a clarification between registered voters and qualified electors, can't get it. So until this goes to President Trump, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the Supreme Court takes action, this is going to continue to happen. So I want to keep it, I think someone just said we're hard-nosed about it. I am hard-nosed about it. We will expose this fraud. We will hold these people accountable. We will see these people put into prison. William Barr is a criminal. Christopher Wray is a criminal. Inspector General Michael Horowitz is a criminal. Merrick Garland is a criminal. We have filed these allegations. They're incredibly serious. The DOJ, Inspector General, and the FBI are well aware of them. We filed additional disclosures today. We're coming after them, and we're not going to stop until we restore our nation and restore our elections and restore the integrity and restore honest public service to the United States citizens.
Thanks very much, Greg. Have a happy holiday and drive safely.
Thank you.
Like Tamborine has a problem with where she is in Washington with her internet. So she said just play her video and it's got all the information in there.
Got it. Okay, so sounds good, Steve. Stand by.
Billy Ballot. Remember when I used to be counted by hand on... Hi, I'm Billy Ballot. Remember when I used to be counted by hand on election night? Yeah, you always knew somebody would come away disappointed, but at least everybody accepted the results because the tallies came straight from the people. Sadly, those days are long gone. It's been over 20 years since a programmer named Clint Curtis testified before Congress that he had been commissioned to create a program designed to secretly fix an election. Today, that hidden program is used in the voting machines and trusted to count your votes. That's why high-profile voices on all sides of the aisle have raised concerns about electronic voting machines. So I'm asking my cousin, Miss Crosscheck USA, to step in. Take it away, cuz.
Why, thank you, Billy Ballot, and thank you, candidate, for making a commitment to run for office. You and your team put so much time, money, and let's face it, doggone work into your campaign that it would be downright shameful if even one of your supporters' votes wasn't counted. And that's why I'm here. Think of me as an insurance policy. And while I can't guarantee you'll win, if you really do have the votes to win, I'm here to prove it, and it's just so simple. First, sign up your campaign with crosscheckusa.com. Next, make crosscheckusa.com a part of your website and campaign materials so your supporters know you're serious about protecting their votes. After the election, verify your cross-check support easily and quickly through your secure account. If there's any undercounting in the reported results, I'm here with the legal verification of your actual support. And crosscheckusa.com utilizes the highest level of cybersecurity available on our private servers, so you know all of your information is secure. So next time they say, pay no attention to what's going on behind the curtain and just trust the system, tell them you shouldn't have to trust.
You should know. Go to crosscheckusa.com to get started. Go to crosscheckusa to verify your vote.
Thank you, Steve, so much for the opportunity. I appreciate the time to be able to address everyone and tell them about crosscheckusa.com. My name is Tamborine Borrelli, and I've been in election integrity since 2016. In 2020, I created a nonprofit election integrity group called Washington Election Integrity Coalition United. It's a long name, but it was for the acronym that says, we see you. We went on to file 8 lawsuits, not unlike those that were filed by President Trump. And of course, the issue with our lawsuits as well was compromised judicial system, claiming that there was no standing. There was many issues with trying to prove election fraud on the back end. Within that year, in investigating the gubernatorial race, the idea of crosscheck came to me because there was around 500,000 ballots in question here. And I remember thinking to myself, if we could only prove that those who voted for, at the time, the candidate's name was Lauren Culp, if we could only have an affidavit proving that Culp had the amount of voters that he did, then we would have standing to be able to do a bona fide election contest. So from that, Crosscheck USA was born. And, in running for Secretary of State, trying to get the information to the average person in regard to how many ways our election system is compromised. So we don't continue to do the definition of insanity, which is election after election, everyone casting their ballot on a wing and a prayer, hoping that their vote is counted as cast. CrosscheckUSA.com is a parallel system, not controlled or manipulated by the state or deep state in this instance. This is controlled by us, the people. It is a clean glass set alongside their dirty glass, and a way for a candidate who, for all intents and purposes, that we know will likely not get in, will likely be one of those who we watch the election results day after day, week after week, while more ballots are being counted, and the candidate that was ahead because the people were behind that candidate, all of a sudden it flips and that candidate is not elected. CrosscheckUSA.com was created for that candidate. So in this juncture, gearing up towards the 2026, this is the time where candidates get on board, they register, and they implement CrosscheckUSA.com within their campaign. So as they are campaigning, they are registering their voter base. So when the time comes in the election of 2026, they will have already their registered voter base. So if there is an instance when the vote totals seem to flip, that candidate will have affidavits from their voter base by the precinct level to be able to make a bona fide election contest with proof of what their vote total should be. And because it's on the precinct level, it won't be a difficult thing to do. I have to mention, obviously, this is a tool that will, until we can go back to in-person with hand-marked paper ballots counted at the precinct level on election night, there is nothing else in this moment that we have, as far as I know, to be able to verify the truth of an election outcome. So I say this to say, those who have every intention to keep things the way that they are, to keep this election fraud type system alive and well, they have every intention to thwart people and dissuade them from using this. In the primary in Washington state, of all people, and this is the uniparty speaking here, because the Washington GOP, the Election Integrity Committee of all things, put out a bogus investigative report on Crosscheck USA saying we were a Democrat scheme to contact people's, to steal rather people's contact information. Now, this is where discernment comes in. I've had 8 years of election integrity battling. I've gone up against the deep state in ways that most people I don't wish on my worst enemy. They have let me know, in no uncertain terms, that they have actually, if you see half of my face is paralyzed, they let me know that it was them that did this to my face because I would never shut up, no matter what they did to try to quiet me from telling the people the truth about election fraud in general, and specifically what's happening here in Washington state. The people in the world think that Washington state was the only state in the whole country that went more left when everyone else went more right. That is a lie. Washington state is not as blue as they purported to be. This is the state where election fraud was born and germinated and went all through the country. So this is where it begins. This is where it will end. We have verifiable proof, just like everyone else in the country, of the same things that happened everywhere else happened here too. So everyone, there comes a time when we have to just put aside all of the noise, all of the madness of he say, she say. And I implore you to just tune in to that God-given intuition, because if we do not have discernment and understand that we have a compromised election system, and we have those who will do anything and stop at nothing to prevent its demise. So if we do not do anything, we will keep having what we have. Trump got in by the grace of God, but what about all those other down ticket races? What about the House? What about the Senate? CrosscheckUSA.com is our only hope to prevent in 2026 and in 2028 from things going desperately wrong. So I implore you, please go to CrosscheckUSA.com and learn more. And if you know a candidate that is for the people and will represent the will of the people, please have them contact us so we can empower them to make sure that if the people elect them, that it's they that are the ones who are elected, not who the deep state wants to select. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tamborine. We have my favorite person in the U.S., Catherine Engelbrecht, one of the top people in election security. I'm glad she was able to come on today. Happy holidays to you, Catherine. Go ahead, come on down.
And thanks, Steve, and thanks to everybody. Mercy knows we're all in this together, and it takes everybody. This is a multi-headed beast that we have to slay, each in our own way, but together it all works. So the few things I wanted to share with you all, we at the end of the year put together a document that we called the Way Forward, and it's a 10-point plan that looks at everything from establishing a standard ID that is not a nationalized ID, but is more based around a distributed ledger among states, and it goes through the counting of votes via paper ballot. It talks about a national education program. So I sent that link along, and I don't know, Steve or Raj, if I should just post it in the chat or whatnot, but please check that out. And for those of you that are so inclined to provide feedback, I'd love it. I mean, every time I'm on one of these calls, I'm reminded that there's so many good people doing work that's different than what we're doing, and we can all, we have a lot to learn on our side too. So anything you may see in the plan, any feedback, you can just send it straight to me or even to Steve or Raj. I'm sure they could get it to me, but we'd love to incorporate it. And our hope with that plan is to take it on a bit of a roadshow and try to gain buy-in across the grassroots and in key states with legislators and continue to advocate. But I mean, we have yet to see what the Trump administration is going to do with their efforts in reconciliation of election process. So we'll see. Hopefully this plan.
Regarding
Sure.
that link you sent, I can put it on is it something you emailed or texted, or do you want me to put it on the screen?
Either, whatever's best for you, Raj.
What is the link?
I texted it, or I put it to you back in the chat. Did you see it?
Great. I'll find it and I'll put it up. Back to you,
Okay,
Catherine. I'll
great.
find it,
Okay,
put it
great.
back.
So there's that plan. We are also having just a real uptick in people from all over the world contacting us, most specifically right now in South Korea, but South Korea, Ireland, France, Italy, Mexico even, talking about similarities in the subversion of process in their countries. And it's particularly in South Korea because it's happening right now. They elected let's just call a MAGA-esque president in President Yoon, who then, once taking office, called for martial law, which in our country was reported as, he's a bad guy and he's putting martial law on the people. But in fact, what was happening was he ordered martial law to contain parliament and they have an election commission to contain the documents available through the election commission that they know point to the election fraud that's been pervasive throughout the country for years. And in many of the same ways, with many of the same machine-related problems. On our website, we have a documentary about what's going on in South Korea. And, look, there's problems all over, but the similarities are really striking. And it speaks to what we all know to be true, which is that this is not happening. I mean, yes, there's a focus on our country because we lead the world, but it is happening all over, and it is a globalist. It is the fulfillment of a globalist agenda to beat down any uprising of freedom in any country. And so being able to link shields is something we're super excited about. And the more we learn and can share, we're a lot more alike than we are different. Our battles are a lot more alike than they are different because we are all coming from the same place of the desire for freedom. So it's just fascinating. Anyway, that's going on. if you were maybe familiar with a program that we launched last year called IV3, which stands for Independent Vote Verification and Validation, which you can find at the website. You can find it on our website, True the Vote, but you can also find it at iv3.us. And what that app was built to do is share local voter rolls, or we have different permission levels. So if you're running an organization and you need a state or you need a region of the country, we can do that too. But you can look at it. We've done some pre-qualification of things that we have identified that may be off, but it's a great way to access quick data. And people have been asking about when that's going to come back online. We will have that back online as soon as we get maybe at least a handful of states that have published their 2024 data, so that we can post complete with the voter history for 2024. But it is coming back. And for any of you that have interest in that app, or you have suggestions in how to augment it, or you want to work with us in that way, we're glad to work with anybody in bettering our position. Before my time came up to speak, I was just reading in the chat comments about how the RNC did nothing. I'll tell you guys, I agree. They are more an obstacle than an aid in the efforts to make sure that you have enough volunteers and that you have enough people, before, during, and after the election to stand in that gap. And what happened, in my opinion, what happened at the federal level, particularly with House races, when everybody from the party just sort of took their victory lap and watched as we lost House race after House race in close elections that I fully believe, had they engaged in the fight, we wouldn't have lost. And now, our majority in the House is hanging by a thread. So I agree with you in terms of the obstacle that the party presents. I wish that wasn't the case, certainly, but it's caused us to kind of change our filter, in that the tools that we're building now are going to be wholly focused on creating as complete a toolkit as we can for grassroots organizations and independent individuals who they're just sick of it and want to do their own thing locally. Apps that can help support for people that want to get involved in school board races or city council races or down ballot things where, the national party is never going to get involved. But as we all know, all politics is local, and it starts there. So that's sort of the framing that we're going into 2025 with, is looking at the broad sweep of reform that's needed, but then localizing it as much as possible to create power bases, and strongholds on the local levels, because we just have, the national party has just failed too many times, and it's I just don't see a change coming, sadly. They're going to do what they're going to do, but there still has to be the contingent of people that will roll up their sleeves and get the job done. So, and then the last thing I'll share with you is we are involved in yet another overturning of yet another election, also in the state of Georgia. One we did a few months ago that I shared with all of you also was in Georgia. But what's happening, and it may be of interest, is that these are close elections, and this one we're working on right now, it's a state house race. The candidates are separated by 48 votes. But what's interesting is that when you look at the granularity of the election, what you begin to see is that the maps were wrong. And it was true in the other election earlier this year that we helped overturn. The maps were wrong. And so in that particular case, they had districted in an apartment complex that shouldn't have been included, and it screwed up the vote count. Same thing is happening with this race. So as you guys are getting involved in looking at overturning elections, or just broadly what happens in any given election, I would suggest include looking at the perimeters of your district lines and comparing that against the voter rolls to see if the districting is proper. Because we found two elections. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think both of them, certainly the first one, which has already happened, but the one that's being worked on right now, looks like it's going to be overturned just on the basis of bad maps. And that's a whole new area, at least for us, a whole new area that we are really, picking over with the fine tooth comb now. And close elections, you should always look at those maps and the perimeters and making sure the voter profile is properly districted. So that's my report from the field.
Catherine, so a lot of people are asking for that link that you mentioned. I have looked everywhere. Is it possible for you to put the link back in the chat or text it to me, and I'll make sure it gets to the folks?
Yeah, I will put it. Okay, I'm putting it here, but then also.
Also, Catherine, we have Canada on the line. They're texting me. They would like your information in the chat. We want to thank Dale Richardson, who's in Canada, who's streaming this all over Canada. We are in 89 different countries, so your voice is going to many, many countries, and I know you're out in many countries, so please share that with us when people contact you so we can get them on.
That's fantastic. And I was actually just on the phone, oddly enough, with some folks out of Canada just before this call. So I'd love to make the connection, and I'm becoming more aware of what's happening there in Canada. And your rules are clearly different, but gosh, your voter rolls. Let's talk. And so that's the plan. And it's like 40 some pages and way too long. And you can see in each of the sections, there's an area there that you can send in. You can just hit it and it goes to an email if you have feedback. But there may need to be an adjustment in the 10. I value the feedback of everybody here. If you see something that's been missed or among the points, maybe the point is accurate, but the detail that supports it could be augmented, please let us know, and we'll be quick to make those changes. These are just things that we've believed for a long time, and sadly, not a whole lot has changed since I started with all of this back in 2009. It's stayed the same or gotten worse. The only thing I can point to that is better now than it was is that more Americans are awake, and really that's the key to making all the difference. So,
thank you very much. And today we got a special guest. I don't give up my seat too often, but to the head of the Super Bowl here, and he's going to tell you about what he's doing. Ohio Brett has come down from Ohio just to be here today and be in here in person. So let's welcome Ohio Brett. Unfortunately, I got to give up my seat, so we'll see you in a little while, and Ohio's coming on.
We are good to go, and we are live. Raj, are we live?
You're looking great, Ohio Brett. Go ahead.
I got my ankles taped. I'm stretched. Give it up for Coach Steve Stern. What a great American. And I'm so thankful that on this journey, Brett Bowl, nicknamed Ohio Brett, was blessed to wear this hat to all 50 states, Raj, in 2022. All praise be to God, all 50 states in 2023. And yes, we're pressing on again in 2024, but it's all about local action for kingdom impact. Local action, kingdom impact. There's so many all-stars. One of the great joys of being able to travel all 50 states, Raj, was meeting you, meeting Debbie Ferris, meeting Steve Stern, meeting Michelle Swinnick out in Arizona. And friends, call a senator. We need one senator. I demand that one senator calls for an investigation. What was it? 130,000 missing ballots in Maricopa County. Kerry Lake lost by 80,000. Let's take action, folks. There are some true all-stars out there in this locker room across America. And yes, I don't apologize that I have sports as a background, Raj. Sports is the backdrop of my life. Haven't played college football for Nick Saban, so I have a different lens on things. We can get truth out at the local level. We've been lied to in every single aspect of our lives. As the host of the Ohio Brett Show, for God and Country and Sports, airs every Monday night on Brighteon.com and the Patriot Party News. And we're streaming this on Brighteon.com all around the world right now, because this is such important information to get out. But the team has to take action. Career politicians on both sides. Are there any with righteous fruit? Career politicians on both sides. It's up to us at the local level to take action and get involved in that game. And yes, as we press on, I don't apologize for getting in conversations with the sports background. And yes, I encourage everybody to get into that Bible, the Bible, the playbook. Coach can't put you in if you don't know the plays. Plug into CoachDaveLive.com and get involved at the local level. Friends, nobody's coming to help us. We have to look to the right and to the left, all 50 states, from Alaska, Hawaii, to Cape Cod, Vermont, Maine, here today down in Southeast Florida. Truth is getting out. And I'm thankful to be part of that truth. And I recently got picked up by the owner of the Hula Bowl, hulabowl.com. All of you invited to come to Orlando. We'll do some tackle drills. Maybe Coach Steve Stern and Raj will do a little fundraiser so we can do some tackle drills on the goal line. But come see us at the Hula Bowl. And I recently came on board. Sponsorships, fundraising, game day experience. But we do have a raffle, the AlohaRaffle.org. At AlohaRaffle.org, raising money for some great causes where we do work. Referral code HULA25, Hula25. Take action, get involved, because friends, we, the team, is all we have at the local level. And I want to encourage you today. Evil has crept in unawares. We don't have to wait for Christmas one day a year to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Many of us do that all the time. We celebrate those whosoevers, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have eternal life. John 3:15, we celebrate that every single day. It is not easy. It looks like they're so far ahead and we don't have a chance to win the game, but that's never the case. We have eternal hope in him. And that's why I'm excited, Raj and Coach Steve, that I could actually be in studio today. I know it's a special treat here to be sitting in Coach Steve's seat. But Raj, I want to encourage everybody watching around the world to take action, get involved, plug into that Bible, plug into CoachDaveLive.com, and get involved at the local level. And like that all-star out in Maricopa County, Michelle Swinning, demand a senator call an investigation. 130,000 missing votes in Maricopa County alone. Take action, get involved. God bless you, Raj, and thanks for letting me join the show.
Hey, Steve, Brett, before you leave, people are wanting to know how to get in touch with you. I don't know if you have the access to the keyboard there, or give it to me and I'll put your info in.
Brett at hulabowl.com, BRETT at hulabowl.com, HULABOWL.com. Brett at hulabowl.com. Shoot me an email. We'll get involved. And now give it up to your head coach, Steve Stern. He's got his ankles taped. He's stretched. Put him back in the game.
Awesome, Brett. Good to see you.
Action, action, action. That's what we get from Ohio, Brett. So we're going to do precinct strategy now. We have one of the most, I would say, the youngest, the greatest. He's always contact me. Dominic is 20 years old or 21. He had dinner with President Trump. That's something I didn't do. But I would like to let everybody know that we have connected with one of Trump's friends that plays golf with him all the time. And we gave him a couple of flag shirts. He just sent me a picture of him and Trump at the golf course yesterday morning. So we're going to use him to try to sway some of our stuff through President Trump, which is something that we haven't been able to do. Now, I'd also like to say a little correction, even though, I'm the vice chair of Broward County Republican Party. And I would say we didn't have a great relationship with the Republican Party this year, but better than ever before. And we were able to connect. And one of our top people, Christina Norton helped us. And we had a couple other people that were very helpful, and they are in the administration. We're trying to contact them. I also sent a letter to President Trump asking for a czar for election integrity so that everybody from our side is able to contact his side. So just some of the things that we're doing. So Dominic, come on down. I love you. You're the greatest. Go ahead.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Raj. I'm sorry I can't join by camera. Unfortunately, besides being involved in politics, I'm also a student at Fairfield University. And for anyone who has a child or a grandchild in the college life right now, we're in the heart of finals. So I just got out of a final. But I'm happy to join the call, and I'm always a big supporter of Steve's and precinct strategy. I am one of, if not the youngest chairman of a municipal GOP in the country and in the state of Connecticut. We are behind enemy lines up here in Connecticut, but that does not mean that Republicans are not having success. And a lot of it has to do with the lessons of precinct strategy and other grassroots organizations like what Steve Stern and many others who help him and who are on this call do. So a little bit about me. I took over the Orange Connecticut Republican Party in this year, in 2024. However, I joined the RTC when I was 14 years old. I was the youngest member. I was a junior member for many years, and then once you could vote, then you became a regular member. So I have quite the time in, even though I'm young. And I've moved up through the ranks. And when I got into our GOP here in Orange, I saw a lot of the problems. And Catherine Engelbrecht, who's amazing, and it's an honor to be on a call with her. She pointed out a lot of this in that movie she did with Dinesh. But it really starts at the local level. It starts at the grassroots level. And we had a great election for President Trump. We did not necessarily have a great election across the country. Certainly not in the state of Connecticut, where you take a look at New York and you take a look at New Jersey, two of our neighboring states in the tri-state area. They had good elections. Yes, there were problems, and no, the Republicans didn't sweep the state. But considering how blue that state has been, and I have friends in both states, Elizabeth Nader, Bill Spadia in New Jersey, and Paul Ingrassa and Lee Zeldin in New York. When you take a look at the movement that those individuals have been able to procure at the grassroots level, the states definitely are doing a better job. In Connecticut, we didn't have that happen. And a lot of the problems that you're seeing in these states are weak Republicans. And that's been one of my biggest things in conjunction with precinct strategy. And my message to everyone today is Donald Trump, thankfully, in however many days, I believe it's less than 40 now, is going to be assuming office. So the federal government is going to be hopefully starting to fix itself. We could have had bigger margins in the Senate and in the House, but for the most part, we got what we wanted given the circumstances. But now I think we need to turn our gaze towards the local strategy, because regardless of whether or not this election was too big to rig, or they did some things to ensure that it wasn't able to be rigged, whatever the case may be, we all remember 2020, and we remember the wounds that we took in that election. We can never have that happen again. So I would encourage everyone to do like what I did, get involved at your local level. There should be some sort of a ability to reach out to your local town official, whether it be a first selectman, a mayor, a board of selectmen, or a city council. They should have the information. I'm sure many of you who are on this call are probably already a member of those. For those of you who are, my recommendation would be 2025 is a major municipal year. Use this as a time to organize the Republicans in your town committee. I currently am having some difficulty on boards of education where Republicans who have been elected since I was in the school as a student, they are just voting like Democrats because they're very weak Republicans. And we're in the process now of using the 2025 cycle to root out the corruption on the local level and root out the weak Republicans on the local level. Because ultimately what we want to do is we want to put ourselves in a position where every year is an election year, and every year you can make better improvements. Just to briefly wrap this up, I would say that, what I've done in a couple of months, which really isn't just me, I assembled a really good team. First thing I did when I took over is I established at the local level an election integrity task force. It's comprised of a lawyer, of an accountant, and of a former town clerk. And we have that task force going. We also have a fundraising task force, and we have a member engagement voter outreach task force. Those 3 task force have been given benchmarks that we set from the executive committee, and they've been actively meeting them. So, we can totally supplement the national reach that has been done, but we got to focus on the local level because that is where they are going. They're very coordinated, these people in the Democrat Party. They use their strategy is to target one little board, one little committee, as small as it could be. And that you give them an inch, they take a mile, and we can't let that happen. So, if we could play our part on the local level through both precinct strategy, which has helped me greatly, the book, I believe it's by Dan Schultz, who I'm sure is on this call. I read it cover to cover. That's helped me, as well as attending these calls. And, like I said, Steve, he's one of my favorite people. There's few people I always pick up the phone for. Steve Stern and Donald Trump are 2 of them. And beyond all of that, I would like to just say, if a 21-year-old in a blue state can get involved and turn a school board red, increase member participation in a small rural community by tenfold, for the first time ever, we're heading into a municipal election with a $20,000 surplus, and we were at a negative balance in the spring. So if a 21-year-old could do it, and he's not even done with college, any one of you and any one of your children, in my opinion, or your grandchildren who are of this age, should be stepping up and getting involved. And I'd be more than happy to talk with or communicate with anyone. I just had one gentleman call me from New Hampshire the other day, and I spoke with someone from New Jersey this morning about some similar topics. So, I'm here as a resource, and I don't know all the answers, but I certainly like to try and find the ones I don't know. So I also want to say, I'll give Steve a little plug here. Last year, I attended the Broward County Republican Party golf tournament that Steve was talking about. What an unbelievable job they did. It was great. It was a great day. People from all over the country attended. I brought someone from New York, and we were paired up with 2 gentlemen from Michigan who are just great guys. And we talked strategy. We played golf on the beautiful Trump National Golf Course. And, it was just an unbelievable day. So if you guys are around, and I'm sure Steve's going to put that out 95 million times between now and then, I would highly recommend going, and I look forward to seeing some of you there. As of right now, I should be attending. So, Steve, back to you, and thank you for having me on.
And we got Dean coming up right next, so we're going to end this with Linda Szynkowicz, and we'll end a little earlier than usual this time because everybody's got holiday preparation.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks, Raj, for having. Everybody is so informative, and I appreciate that. And Dominic, you're a rock star. Appreciate that. Thanks for letting me talk about my app, IREP USA. It's a great solution to a lot of things that we've been talking about here. Does anybody remember the Gang of Eight in 2013? The Gang of Eight was an amnesty bill that they tried to pass. It was $1 billion bill. They tried to pass it through, but so many Americans were mad about the bill, and they called the representatives by the tens of thousands, and they canceled the bill. They killed that $1 billion bill, which was a huge upset for the deep state, I'm sure. When tens of thousands of people call, that's when things change. We can tell them what to do. We're their constituents, so they will listen to us because we're the ones that vote for them. And I'm going to put all my information in the chat right now. Everything is in there. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, tell them what your app does.
Yeah. So the app is it has talking points. It has all you put your address in, it has all your representatives that you vote for, plus with talking points. So it makes it super easy. I can call 5 representatives in 10 minutes. If you did it on your own, it'd probably take you 10 minutes a call trying to think of what to say and finding the number, etc. So all you have to do is put your address in there and you get all the people that you vote for. And they have to listen to you. They represent you. So key issues on the app, we talk about election integrity, borders, fentanyl, inflation, national security, state and local issues also. We're going to have hundreds of things to call for the next 4 years to help America first and help President Trump. They're already trying to start World War III to stop this agenda. So I'm sure we are going to have to call hundreds of times this year alone. The importance of pressure and accountability. We can't just vote and forget. Can't trust the politicians right now. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in a long time. So they keep getting away with things and we keep letting them. But if we call them and put pressure on them, that's a revolution for us. Tens of thousands of people call. They will have to listen to that public pressure. What is our recourse if they do vote against the American people? Do we wait for an election? No. We have to call them and we have to pressure them and hold them accountable for everything they do.
How do they get your app?
Yeah, the app's on both stores, the Apple Store and the Android store. It's easy. Just go down there and download it. 7-day free trial, so you can check it out and see what it's all about before purchasing.
What's the name of the app? What is the name of the app, please?
IREP USA, IREP-USA.
Raj, can you put it up?
So I've been to a few representatives' office, and they say they consider one call about 10,000 constituents with the same opinion. So one call is a huge thing, but they won't do anything unless they get 100 calls a day or 100 calls a week, and that's when they'll start realizing that the constituents are mad about election integrity. You can call about the Maricopa County to make sure that they do a check of the election. But without, we need massive numbers to call them, because the lobbyists, the deep state, they call the representatives more than we do. So why use the app? It saves you time. You can do 90 seconds. You can do one call in 90 seconds, and it unites our voices. So when we call en masse, and they have to listen.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dean. You have a happy holiday. We'll get that up in the chat and we'll send it around after we have this call. Now we got one of the important people in that's going to close this, Linda Szynkowicz. I've worked with her for a number of years. I think she's the greatest of all people because she has accomplished many, many things that other people haven't. And I would say she's one of the people that helped win this election. I have to tell you that she went down, spent 5 hours driving to see Greg Stenstrom with probably 102 fever. So you don't find too many people like that. Linda, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Well, just so you know, my fever had broke, so I was not actually sick around other people. But thank you so much for having me on, both Steve and Raj. I really appreciate this. My name is Linda Szynkowicz. I am the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. We've been around since about 2018 is when I started the organization, but we've come a long way. We are now in all 50 states helping out anybody who needs help. We have a data system. We have all the voter rolls. We know the double voters, double registered, etc. We are about 70% in compiling the voter information for 2024. So after the first of the year, anybody who wants the double registered, double voters, you'll be able to go to our website and just fill out the form and we will send you the information. One of the key things we are also working on now, I have an incredible guy who works with Fight Voter Fraud, and he has been putting together a master book on every single state, on the easiest websites to go to actually verify the information on the person, where they lived, when they sold their house, their voter IDs, their voting history. And we're trying to streamline it so we don't waste time. So he's broken it down to very specific to different counties. He's got all the swing states set, as he told me this morning. Texas was the first one he did because it had so many different counties. And it's going to be a very comprehensive, so people we hopefully will have that available sometime the first or second week of January. We will put it up on the website so you can download it. We will also be available to do training.
This meeting is being recorded.
We want to help as many people as possible as far as getting the double voters and getting the double registered off the voter rolls. We do have access for the deceased voters, but we're still looking for someone who can sponsor that so we can give it out for free because it's expensive. So we're working on that right now, but you would definitely be able to get the double registered, double voters out there. So if anybody needs any help or wants any information on stuff, or if you have some data you want an analysis done, we are also doing that for people and doing the analysis and sending it back to you. Fani had sent us some information and we did the data analysis on what he had for Michigan and Ohio and Tennessee. Like I said, we just want to help as many people as possible. So our website is fightvoterfraud.org. My email is Linda, Linda, at fightvoterfraud.org. And my phone number, 860-575-7125. And I did put it in the chat so you can get a hold of us. And we just really appreciate so much you, Steve and Raj, for putting this together. You have had some incredible people on here. And I got to tell you, Greg Stenstrom, unbelievable. He did pro se in court and he was phenomenal. And I'm really looking forward to the fact that Pennsylvania may actually hold people accountable that have violated election laws. So thank you very much.
You got it. So let me wrap up a little bit here. Maybe you give me the screen over here, Raj.
You are on full screen.
All right. So I'm asking everybody to go to Stern American on X and sign up, like me or however you come on. I'm not a guy for all that type stuff, but anyway, for a Christmas present, just go to Stern American on X. Go to Stern American Rumble. You'll see what we're doing. I can tell you right now that we have surpassed our 7 million people that have listened last time. Could be up about 8 or 9 million. The next one that's going to be in January, we're hoping for over 10 million. What that does is it brings all our podcasters together, and those podcasters will be introduced to each other. I have introduced many people to each other that never knew they existed. It's a communication thing. And the reason why we won this election is because we had 200,000 poll watchers and poll workers. I have to thank the Republican Party and all the people that did it. We had 100,000 last election. Next Zoom call, we're going to have somebody on that's going to talk about who prints the ballots. Nobody talks about that. You know, we have everybody on, but you know that we saw 3 trucks in Wisconsin come out with trailer loads of ballots. Well, somebody printed those. And we got to get a hold of President Trump to get in touch with the people that actually print the ballots, because it doesn't make any difference if you have hand ballots or machine ballots. If somebody's printing 1 million and you need 800,000, where did those 200,000 go? So we're investigating everything. We need more people to speak. If you have somebody in some of these states, North Carolina, South Carolina, North Dakota, South Dakota, let's try to get them on so you learn what's going on in each state. Again, I want to thank Cloud Hub, Patriot TV, Lindell TV, The War Room, Melissa Red Pill, Dan Smergiglio. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it great, but he's one of our top people. He's got huge amount of people on his radio show, 89 counties, maybe more. Yournews.com, we don't even know how many people he's got on because they don't know. TotallyNews.com in San Diego. And many, many other people from my organization, because to put this out takes a lot of effort. We spent the last 36 hours just contacting our podcasters. They're up to 135. We hope to have 200. And, you know, it's hard to get them to cooperate. Everybody's got something to do. So I want to thank everybody who's listening, who came on. And also, please go to theflagshirt.com. So, you know, I gave the business mostly to my son. So www.theflagshirt.com. We have a lot of new things that came in. We had a trailer that took 4 months to come in here. Just got in here last week, and we got a lot of new gifts for Christmas. I'm wearing one of our top shirts, and I will be doing a whole thing for Patriot TV, where we're going to be doing a whole show and showing everything that we have, from shoes to socks to everything. So again, everybody, happy holidays. It's been a pleasure doing this. I'm actually going to be taking off, going to California. I'm going to Orange to see if we can win the next election and find out what the heck's going on there. Raj, it's all up to you. You close it out and give them whatever information you need to do.
So
And
my
thank-
friends, yes, thank you, Steve. And I want to just again thank, and I'd love all of you to also express your gratitude and thanks to Steve Stern and the employees there at Flag Shirt. This Zoom call doesn't have any employees. If this Zoom call tying all those people together, millions of people, is being done by private individuals, the people that are putting together. So Flag Shirt is actually the power behind all of those messages coming out. So you can see right there, flagshirt.com. Massive, massive amount of work for weeks and weeks and weeks that Steve is doing. So please help us keep this growing and spread it out. Very, very easy right now. Just go to the Flag Shirt and get an amazing Christmas gift for you and other people in your family. There's still time to order it right now. I think if you move really quickly, you'll still get it before Christmas, but you got to move now. And my friends, what a great thing to wear on Christmas Day than one of these shirts. So it's going to be, so please take advantage of that. Also, again, the next call that we're having again is going to be January 8th, which is a Wednesday, January 8th, which is a Wednesday. You're asking yourself, where do I get the recording of this call? There was so much information. I didn't write everything down. Very, very simple. Just go to sternamerican.com, click on the Rumble channel link at the bottom, click on the live feed, and this and other calls will be there. And if you are watching this, especially if you're watching this on one of the many streaming partners, and you'd like to get information directly to get to this Zoom call where you can participate in the chat, you can do that by just texting the word elections right there to 91776. Have a Merry Christmas and look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you, my friends. Good night. Good night. Good night.